Mr. David, can you tell me and our listeners what would you tell someone who think it's too late for them financially?
I would say it is never too late, literally, regardless of whatever your age is. There is absolutely hope with the right path, with the right direction, and please don't give up because there's a lot of opportunities, no matter what your age is.
Well, I want to welcome you to Bartelle's Money Talk, and this is going to be a serious conversation. We're having layoffs because of AI. We're having layoffs now because of inflation. Well, Mr. David has a powerful story to give you hope. If you have been a part of a riff, you want to stay tuned and listen to the insight and the information that he has to share. So, Mr. David, at this time, if you can introduce yourself to the listeners.
Sure. As you said, my name is David Nassief. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, originally from Ohio, in a very small town on Lake Erie. Wife Mary, been married almost about 38 years now, and have a son Adam. And just happy to be alive, and opportunity to be on this podcast is wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, listeners, I chose Mr. David because his story grabbed at my heart. He was 69
63.
and he got fired from his job. He's going to tell us all about that. We all love stories, but you know what? He got restored and he was resilient. David, take it away.
Sure. Well, when I was 63, I had actually got fired after 18 years with the same company. I tell you, Teresa, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. When I did the math, I realized that if we had drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we were scheduled to be broke by the age of 65. And at this point, I'm thinking, who is going to hire me at my age? So, anyways, that wasn't even the hardest part, Teresa. The hardest part was driving home thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? We had been married at that point for 30 years, and she did not deserve the mess I just threw our life into. So, anyways, I start sending out resumes and interviews, going nowhere. I mean, basically, people are telling me in a very polite and professional way, oh no, David, the company that fires you, they did the right thing because you're of no value to us either. It's like you're washed up, basically. I mean, they were very nice about it, but that's basically what they said. And so I'm thinking,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, I have got to do something. I am not going to give up. This is not how I'm going to end. This is not how I'm going to let my wife's end. And so I decided to take a huge risk. And I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission, no salary, no safety net, no benefits. I mean, the first months were brutal. Cold calls after cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I heard more no's in that period than I think I could ever count. But anyways, as I look back, Teresa, what I remember is, and again, at the time it was very difficult, but reflecting, I can say that I really believe all that resistance, all that rejection I was getting was necessary to build the mental muscles I needed to punch through that dark period of my life. After 10 months of grinding, and I do mean grinding, I had an incredible milestone. I was suddenly making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a brief moment, I felt like we made it. But then I realized we didn't make nothing because I've been making decent money for 40 years. And look where it got me, on the verge of financial collapse. I said, I need to learn how to invest. I need to learn how to build wealth. I did not have time for a bunch of investment theories and people working on commissions trying to get a piece of the pie from me. So I dug in on my own. I read 21 books on personal finance related topics, listened to 13 podcasts faithfully on personal finance. I read blogs, newsletters. Every time I got a good idea, I put it on this one piece of paper. I kept putting on this paper until it filled up. And then I says, no, I'm not going to go more than one piece of paper because I want to keep it simple. So when I got a better idea, I had to take the worst one off and put a better one on. I kept
Uh-huh.
refining it and refining it to a set it and forget it approach because I couldn't watch Wall Street. I had a company to run. I had to put it, so it would work on its own. Basically, by age 69, I did what I thought was impossible. From terrified, and I do mean terrified of being broke, to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. Teresa, I now know it is never too late to rewrite your story. Because if I can pull that off starting as late as 63, anyone can with the right direction. And I truly believe that.
Okay, so I want to back up a little bit
Sure.
because
Sure.
many times, Mr. David, we think because we have longevity at a company that we're safe. Can you speak on a little bit how you really thought that you were safe in your job because you had been there for so long?
I had it, and I never even dreamt. That was a thing about it. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, sometimes though you hear layoffs are coming, or you hear, oh, you got a bad write up or something like that. And I had no bad write ups. I had they have no layoffs coming. It just came out of the blue, and it was like I was numb for about a day. I didn't even. I mean, I knew it happened, but I mean, it was just like, what? How did this happen? But that's life, and I don't blame them. I know this sounds terrible. I don't blame them because they paid me, they treated me well for 18 wonderful years. They really did. And they did nothing but the best. And honestly, looking back, it was the best gift they could have given me firing me. Because, I thought 8 years before they fired me, I should have quit and moved on to another job. But who quits when they're in their late 50s, a great paying job, company car, all kinds of benefits, all kind of amazing income? So you just end with who knows what's out there, maybe nothing. No one does that. So I didn't have I wish I could tell you and your listeners, I had the courage. I just told them to take their job and you know what? I'm gonna go on. No, that wasn't me. I was afraid. I needed somebody to nudge me out of the corporate nest or push me out of the corporate nest. And it was a gift. I should send them a gift basket and a thank you card for what they did for me. Because I'm truly, my life is so much better now. I am so much freer. I have such a clearer purpose in life. It was a gift. That's all I can say. It was a gift.
Okay, so like when you were in that sales job doing all that grinding, did I understand you to say that you left the sales job and started your own company? Is
No,
that what you did?
no. That was my own company. In other words, I was on straight commission. I was like a rep for a company, but it was my own company. It was not, and I was independent, so I didn't work for them or like that. So that was my own company. It's grown since then. We had a record year last year. My son's joined me since then. I mean, it's just really blossomed the company. But in the beginning, it was very tough. I mean, to get it off the ground, it was very tough.
Wow. So now you're probably one of the top salesmen.
Our company is one of the top in the in their of all of their agents out there. Yeah, independent agents. We are probably in the top 2 or 3% or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so after all of this happened and you had to pick your face up, your heart up, how long did it take you to reach millionaire status after thinking that you were going to just be completely broke in 2 years? What did you do?
Well, I can tell you that if you want the exact step-by-step thing, I can tell you exactly how it happened. I mean, first I'll tell you what happened, then I can tell you how it happened if you like, okay? Because this way,
Yes,
okay,
let's do that.
basically I doubled my portfolio 3 times in a 6-year period. Okay. And most people say that's not possible, David. The market didn't increase that much. Well, I promise you it is possible. And let me just first tell them how I did it. Okay. First of all, I wasn't day trading, chasing crypto, trying to time the market. I was actually doing the opposite of that. I was doing something so boring, Teresa, it would put you to sleep. And here's the crazy thing. When the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret, Teresa, is the market wasn't down more during that 6-year period because I'd even done better if it was down even more. But the thing is, what really surprised me was the math. There's a thing called the rule of 72. And what it says is if you're getting a 10% return on your money, say, your money will double every 7.2 years, or roughly every 86 months. My
Mhm.
first double occurred in just 30 months. The second one,
Wow.
only 13. The third one, 29, for an average of 24 months, way less than half the expected 86-month time period. But
Mhm.
the secret wasn't the returns. The secret was I learned 3 things that I didn't know for 40 years. And these 3 things made a huge difference. And I think your listeners might benefit from this. The first thing was I did the old saying, pay yourself first. Well, I really did that. Okay. When my monthly check hit my account, my pay,
Mhm.
I took a percentage of it off the top and I put it immediately over to another account separate. So I wouldn't touch it. Okay. Before I paid any bills, before I used any money for anything else, that was within an hour or two of hitting the account, it was over and it was safe. Okay. The second thing I did
Mhm.
is I got in the right kind of investments. Now, what I'm talking about that is low cost index funds. I only own 2 of them. That's all I own. It's so simple. It's incredibly simple. One I own the entire US market, every publicly traded stock. I own a tiny little sliver of each one of them. Okay. The other one I own is the international market. I own every publicly traded stock outside the United States. So, Teresa, I literally own every publicly traded stock on the planet. For me to go to zero, the entire world economic system would have to collapse to nothing. And if that happens, we got bigger problems than money, okay? And so
That's right.
I feel very safe and I feel very protected, and because I'm so diversified, so diversified. And the third thing, and this is important, is I use market volatility to work for me instead of against me. So many people invest based on emotions. That's why they
Mm-hmm.
buy high and sell low, which is the opposite of what you want to do, which is what I did for 40 years. Okay. I understood that market volatility can work for you. And when the market's down, it's a wonderful thing. It's a buying opportunity. But I didn't market time. I bought consistently every month. Every month when I got paid, I bought. I didn't care if it was up, down, or in between. But here's the thing about this, Teresa. People don't get this. It's like, say you were to go to the department store and they had a big sale, 50% off sale. Would you go up to the clerk and say, hey, I don't want no 50% off. I want to pay full retail. When's that thing going back to full retail? You wouldn't say that. They'd call you crazy if you did that, okay? But people
That's
do it
right.
with the people do it with the stock market all the time. Oh my gosh, the market's down 50% or 20%. I got to get out, get
Mm-hmm.
in cash. No, that's what you want to buy. You don't see our natural emotions tell us to do the opposite of what we really should do with the market. We know how to do it in real life, like in sales
Right.
and stuff like that. But with the market, our brain gets kind of weird or something like that. So basically, I ended the cycle of buying high and selling low. Bottom line, Teresa, I figured out how to build my wealth twice as fast. And here's the important part, with half the risk compared to how I was doing it before and compared to how so many people are doing it today. And that's kind of that in a nutshell.
Well, what made you decide to go into sales?
Well, it's crazy. Um, when everyone told me we're not going to hire you, you're of no value to us, I said I have to do something. But here's the thing: it's harder than I expect. I told you, Teresa, because I tried twice to start my own company when I was in my 40s, and I failed miserably. I mean,
Mhm.
one of them plunged me into a six-figure debt that took me years to pay off. So this was not
Wow.
like a casual decision, like, oh, I'm going to start my own company. Why not? I'll try that. No, I tried it. I tried it twice, as a matter of fact, and I failed twice.
Mhm.
And the employers were telling me I was of no value. I had a zero employability. I actually had a negative 10 employability. So I had two battles going on at the same time. One, entrepreneurial world told me I was no good. Two, corporate world told me I was no good. I felt like I was fighting two David and Goliath fights at the same time, and I was David in both those fights. Okay, but
Right.
but here's the thing that changed it for me, Teresa. In all seriousness, I learned some lessons, some important lessons when I failed in my 40s trying to start those two companies. And I was smarter now because of those lessons. So what I did is, just like I have a one-page wealth compass that I use to build my
Mhm.
wealth on, I started a one-page agency compass for my company. And I would read books on startup companies and sales and marketing. I put them on that page and I'd refine it and test them and throw the bad stuff away and keep the good stuff on. And I kept refining and refining it. And that's when I really started growing the company, because I felt like I had an unfair advantage in my local market with my compass. And it was like a flywheel. It started real slow those first 10 months I was saying, but boy, it really picked up amazingly. And so understanding, you can learn a lot from your failures. I don't look at those as failures anymore. I look at those as lessons learned. And I use those lessons learned to help me succeed. I was smarter at 63 than I was at 43,
Mhm.
that made a big difference. It really did.
Okay, when you look back over your life and over that time, let's just pretend that someone is watching now and they are due to be laid off within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
What would you tell them?
Well, first, don't panic and take a deep breath. Okay, um, it's fine. If things, it doesn't seem like it at the moment. I want to say when I got fired, Teresa, I wasn't saying doing a little happy dance and I wasn't jigging. It was painful. It was like emotionally strenuous. But I benefited from that. I heard somebody once, they were going through a really hard time, more than they felt like they could handle, and they said a
Mhm.
prayer. It was basically, Lord, please relieve me of this pain. It's more than I can handle. And the message that got back at their mind from the prayer was, I love you too much to deny you of this experience. And
Whoa.
I know, and I honestly believe the Lord loved me too much to deny me of that experience of getting fired. I needed that. And I'm so grateful he loved me and didn't pluck me out and save me prematurely, because I would have learned nothing. I would still be the weak person that I think I needed to grow some muscles and mental muscles and things like that. So the person who's getting fired in 2 weeks, I know it seems like the end, but it could be just the beginning if you have the right kind of focus and direction. And I really believe that it could be a blessing in disguise. You don't maybe realize it right now, but with the right direction, it can turn into something beautiful, actually.
Okay. And so how long did it take for you to be like, you could breathe, you accepted it, and you went out and you started trying to find other avenues to bring in money? Did it take you 2 weeks, 2 months, or did you just get on it right away?
No, it took me a while. I'll tell you real quickly, because I haven't told you my rock bottom yet. Right? You think I have, but I haven't. What happened was a couple weeks after, maybe a month after, my wife said to me, honey, there's a big sale going on at the store, and I want to go get some groceries because I want to conserve money, because we were like 2 years away from being broke. And I said, sure, I'll go with you. She asked me if I'd go with her. I'll help because I had nothing else to do. I was sitting on resumes going nowhere. We get to the store, Teresa. I walk in, I look around, and all I could see is women with babies and baby carts and babies crying. I felt like I was the only man in the store. I'm sure I wasn't, but I felt like that, okay? And I felt at that moment, I had a big sign on my chest saying, biggest loser. I just felt like,
Oh,
what am I doing here? I should be out providing for my family. I shouldn't be in the middle of a week, in the middle of the day in a store, shopping. But I was. So, anyways, my wife's checking out now. I'm at the end of the counter waiting for her. And at
mm-hmm.
that moment was my lowest moment, Teresa. I felt like I had this mental corporate straitjacket on that I couldn't
Oh,
escape from. I had this mental image. I'm a corporate guy, but they took that away from me. But I didn't want to let it go. But I had to try to get out of it. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But where was I going to run to? Where was I going to scream at?
right,
There's nothing.
right,
And so
right.
that night I went home, Teresa, and I realized something. I realized the corporate world said I was of no value anymore. End of story. So I said to myself, okay, I need to let this guy out of me who's shaking and nervous and afraid to come out. We got to fight this. I'm not going to go down like this. I'm not going to let my wife go down like this. And we're going to fight this. I had no plan B. I went for this opportunity, this business opportunity, and I had to make it work, and no matter what. And it was brutal. Those first few months, Teresa, you know how much money I was making? I was working like crazy. I was making like a $200 commission check, a $300 commission check for the whole month. For the whole month. I
Oh,
mean, isn't that crazy? But you know what? I had faith. Have you ever heard this statement? Pray like everything depends on God, and
oh,
then
yes,
and then get up and work like everything depends on you. All I was
yes.
doing for those 10 months was praying and working, praying and working, praying and working. But
Mm-hmm.
that's when I had that focus, I had the direction, and I had my compass, and that compass kept me directed in the right way.
Okay, so we've mentioned the compass. It's
Yeah.
a one-page wealth compass.
Yes.
Can you tell the listeners exactly what that is? You've touched on it a couple of times, but
Yes.
can you explain exactly what that is?
I'm going to show them. It's right here. And I'm going to give everybody a free download of this. No obligation, nothing to buy. It's all my secret sauce right here. There's nothing, hidden or anything like that. And it's a simple thing. It's 2 columns. One column is the 9 trail markers to financial freedom. And it basically tells you from wherever you are, and people are going to be at different places in their life. That's okay. Pick up where you are and go forward. And the other side is the 5 North Star principles to keep you out of trouble, kind of like the mental guardrails to keep you from going into the gutter financially or whatever it is. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And those are it. Now, a lot of people say, somebody might say, like, the number one is career and income. All the books I read, those 21 books I was talking about, they never talked about
Mhm.
your income. They assumed you had a good income or you wouldn't be reading a book on investing and things like that. But that's not true, Teresa. A lot of people aren't making good money. They're underpaid, underemployed, underappreciated, and they need a better situation. So I says, I'm not going to just assume they're making good money, because too many people
Mhm.
aren't making good money. And my first 2
Mhm.
chapters are nothing but that. How to get the kind of position you really want, how to grow your income, how to go through the struggles you have to sometimes, but how to do it successfully and not spin your wheels. Other people might say, well, David, I have a good job, I make good money, but my problem is my debt. I have a lot of debt. My credit card debt is like, okay, then
Mhm.
you'll start at step 3. You don't have to start at step 1 because you're already can that. And now people say, David, but wait a minute, it says here debt freedom strategy and a few more words, but David, I need more than that to get out of debt. Can you help me? Well, that's right. But notice what it says. It says chapter 4. And so basically, which is go to the book, okay, which you can get on Amazon. It's really inexpensive. And go to chapter 4. And it tells you the different strategies to get out of debt to fit your personality, fit your situation. And every single point on this compass, on both columns, has a chapter reference. So if you're stuck or you need extra help on that area, you just go to the book. This is like the 30,000-foot view of the compass. This is the ground game, the map. Take a right at the light. Take a right left at the next stop sign, okay? And when you combine these, you have a clarity that few people ever get when it comes to personal finance. And there's one more thing I want to tell you that I do, Teresa, that's really important part of this is every Friday, you pick one day a week, whatever day is good for you. Every Friday at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I have on my calendar, I have a 2-minute wealth meeting with myself, wealth checkup. And basically, I go through my trail markers, where I'm at, where I'm going. And I go through my North Star to make sure I haven't done anything crazy, okay, to keep me focused. This is like the 30,000-foot focus. I remember once, Teresa, I made an impulse purchase that week. And when I had my meeting with myself, I realized you're supposed to wait 24 hours before you buy on an impulse purchase. Okay. And I failed to do that because half the time, if you wait 24 hours, you don't need it. You know, you don't need it. Okay. Well,
Right.
that cost me maybe $100. But here's the thing. It didn't cost me. The next week, guess what? Because of that meeting I had with myself, I didn't do it again. And the next week, I didn't do it again. But without this checkup, Teresa, people are making the same mistake over and over. And then 6 months later, they're like 10 grand in debt because they made all these impulse purchases. Have you ever read a book and you got a really good idea with a book? You say, man, that's going to change my life. And then 2 years later, you come across the idea again and you say, oh, I forgot about that. Well, you can't forget with this book because you're having these 2-minute meetings. And if you're on step 3 all the time and you never get off of it, you're saying, wait a minute, I got to do something here. I got to move on to the next step here. I got to complete this. And so it really is kind of like a behavior modification privately with you and yourself to keep you on the right path, if that makes sense.
So this book, because of what you went through, the tribulation, the book was birthed, correct? And this is the format that you use to get to where you are now.
Exactly.
You were 63 when they decided to let you go. You thought you were going to go broke in 2 years. And so really, for me, looking at you and your story and your age, many people will be like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it. Because a lot of even some financial advisors will tell you, like, once you hit 63, you don't have that much of a runway. You're probably going to have to work until you're 80. But you're living proof that that's really not true because you're working now only because you want to. Correct?
I could stop working a couple years ago. I love what I do. I love my clients. My son's working with me now. I love mentoring him and teaching him that kind of thing. This is play for me, Teresa. And then I also love writing my book and sharing with people and coming on podcasts like yours. This doesn't work for me. This is play for me. This is not work. And so I'm just so grateful for the blessings that I have. And I don't think I'll ever retire. I could financially, but I'm just having too much fun.
Well, that's good. And so, Mr. David, when you got let go, were you in a lot of debt? Were you living paycheck to paycheck? Because, like, based on what you're sharing with us, I would like for you to tell our listeners how they can bulletproof themselves a little bit in the event they are fired or laid off.
Yes. I didn't know. I tell you, before I got fired, it must have been inspiration, Teresa. Before I got fired, my wife and I made the commitment to get out of debt. I don't know what it was. It was inspiration. It really was. Okay. And so we did get out of debt. That was a journey. It didn't happen overnight by any means. Okay.
Right.
But we were in a situation that we could only, when I got fired, if we took our emergency fund and we took our retirement fund, we know how much we spent, each year. We were going to be broke by 65, no cash. Okay. And that was scary. I mean, but here's the thing about people saying it's too late at 63. Here's my thinking about that. The game isn't over at 63. It's just the second half.
Yeah.
And that's where championships are decided, Teresa, isn't it? In the second half. And I don't look at that at all. I was in the second half, started my second half. So please, whoever, I don't care if you're 53, you got it made, buddy. You're a kid. And if you're 43, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have figured this out and had this compass and this book when I was 53. Oh my gosh, what a difference it would have made. Okay. Or 43 even. So people thinking in your 40s and 50s is too late. That's just not, that's goofy thinking.
Yeah, it is. And there's something that you wrote, and I want to just read it so the listeners can hear it. Like,
Sure,
it's very impactful. Well, it was to me. So
sure.
hopefully there's someone similar to me that has my personality that will agree. But you wrote, getting fired at 63 was the worst day of my life until it became the best. Mr. David, that is so powerful. Can you just talk on that just a second? It was the worst day of your life until it became the best. You need to make a t-shirt. That's powerful.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the screen just went blank. I don't have it. No, you're right though. Well, when you think about this, if you're 63 and you don't have much retirement because you squandered 40 years of investing and things like that, or just did wrong stuff or went in circles, that's that's a scary position to be in. Now, if I had like a good retirement thing and I was taken care of and just 2 years earlier, I'd have been fine. But that wasn't my situation, Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of people in this country, they're like a couple paychecks away from homelessness or being broke. Okay, that's scary, and I was 2 years. And when you're 63, 65 and being like nothing, that's petrifying. But then I was blessed, and literally 10 months, roughly to a year later, things had turned around dramatically. And I look back and I says, man, that day that was the scariest day, that was really the best day. And to this day, I'm, like I say, I'm grateful to the Lord for the blessing of that day.
Well, that sentence, for so many people, I hope, like, if they got laid off,
Yeah,
or if they're going to get laid off, that they'll be able to do like you, recover,
yeah,
and look back as the worst day of my life. God ended up making that to be the best day
yes,
of my life.
that's right.
And so don't get stuck and get defeated because you've gotten laid off, I've gotten fired. And so the one thing that I believe, I am a Christian, is like when God closes one door,
Yep, yep,
he opens another.
I agree.
But to be in that situation, it probably doesn't feel that way.
No,
But at the end of the day, you are a testimony to that principle.
yeah. But it was a blessing from God. I mean, I had to do my part for sure. But if it
Hmm.
wasn't for the blessing, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be talking because I'm not that strong. I'm going to admit to you, I'm not that strong by myself. By myself.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here to tell your story. And because you're still out in the workforce, and AI is really devastating lives,
Yeah.
when it comes to jobs
Yep.
and income. And so, because of your experience and the things that you've been exposed to because you got fired from your job,
Yeah.
do you have any advice to people when it comes to AI and job security and
Well,
perhaps planning for a layoff?
I only can speak for myself what I did, and I chose
Mhm.
to flip the table on AI. And what I did is when I started promoting this book and wrote the book, writing the book is one thing. It took me a year to write the book. Okay. The second
Uh-huh.
half is promoting it so people know about it. Otherwise, no one knows about it. It's going to stay there. I used AI. I'm using AI every day now to promote the book, to get it out there. So I'm not going to be a victim of AI, just like I wasn't going to be a victim of the corporate world either. I'm taking AI and using it as a tool. Okay, to
Wonderful.
succeed. And so that's what I would recommend is don't look at it as an obstacle or as a threat or as a bad man or something like that, or a bad woman. Look at it as a tool. And I'm going to use this tool to get what I want, and to help other people is what I want, and get the message out to what I want to do. And that's what I'm using. I'm using it as a tool. Now it's just, I'm 72. Okay. So social media isn't something I grew up with. Okay. Maybe you did, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't. Okay.
No, I did not.
Okay. But anyways, but I'm using AI. I have AI agents. I have AI architect to start promoting it on social media. It's just in the early stages. It's not, if you look at my social media, it's like nothing yet. But give me about 30 to 60 days, and you're going to see a big push on that, because that's the way to get the word out. But I also want to say one more thing, Teresa, that I think is important. A lot of people, they hear of, oh, a finance book, David. Oh, please put me to sleep. I'll read it before I go to bed so I can go to sleep at night. Charts and graphs and a bunch of technical terms. No, I didn't write it that way. I wrote the book for the average person who isn't a Wall Street person, who isn't deep into the technical stuff. I wrote it in stories, true stories of people who succeeded and who failed. And I give you like the two case studies, and then I give the principle. And people are telling me, now I get it, David. I was always confused, and I was embarrassed to ask him what that meant. But you explained it so clearly with your stories. It's not complicated at all. You may see. Here's the deal: Wall Street loves complexity, but the truth is, simplicity is for winners. Complexity is for victims.
Whoa.
Wall Street wants it to be complex. It's not complex. When I read those 21 books, Teresa, I figured out this isn't as complicated. Oh, there's a lot of they put a lot of words around it, make it sound complicated, but it's not complicated.
Right.
If you really understand it. Matter of fact, can I share a brief a review I got, because it really relates to what we're talking about here.
Yes.
This is from a clinical psychologist with 25 years experience, no financial background at all. He was facing his own career crisis, and he said the one-page wealth compass gave him the exact hope and practical steps he needed. This is my favorite part of the quote, though. I couldn't put the book down. That's what it's designed to be. It's almost like a novel, but it's true. And but with the stories, you get real powerful principles that you can actually put into practice and use. And I want to give it as a gift to all of your listeners that they go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free. They can download it. They'll also get my free newsletter, which gives them tips and kind of virtual coaching to help along the path. And I don't want anyone to be where I was at 63 on the verge of financial collapse and have that experience. So just go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free and get it for yourself for free. There's no obligation. And if you like it and you want the book, it's an inexpensive book on Amazon. It's an ebook or paperback, whatever you prefer.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. And I didn't ask you this beforehand, but I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
And if you can't answer it offhand, it's completely fine, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, maybe I can ask you.
Oh, please.
But the term, what's FIGNA? And how does it differ from the FIRE movement? Do you know what FIGNA is?
That's mine. Yeah, I made that up.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that?
FIGNA, it's called. The FIRE movement, everyone's heard of that. I mean, financial independence, retire early. Well, I'm not big on retiring, Teresa. I'm having too much fun. So financial independence, graduate to next adventure. That's what FIGNA stands for. Graduate to next adventure. I love to keep graduating to new adventures. I just have fun doing it. I don't want to sit in a rocking chair or watch TV for 8 hours a day. I want to be out doing stuff. I want to be helping people. And so I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people who retired and then they went back to work not because they need the money. Sometimes they just were bored to tears, And we live on a beautiful golf course, Teresa. I look back at there, I see those golfers and go, I hope you're having a good time, because I just couldn't do that. Nothing's wrong with golf, but I just have to be doing something productive and try to help people. So FIGNA, financial independence, graduate to next adventure. I hope I'm always graduating. In fact, at 63, I was forced to graduate to a new adventure. At 72, I wrote my book and had a new adventure. Now, you're going to have me back when I'm 82, Teresa, so we can see what my next adventure was.
I know. We'll have to plan on doing that.
Okay.
Yes, we will. We will. Well, before I let you go, Mr. David, do you have one or two nuggets of wisdom that you can share with our listeners?
Yes, I'd like to share with them this. Clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. For 40 years, I was spinning my wheels, going in circles, going nowhere, and it led me to the end of almost financial ruin. Once I got my compass, I accomplished more in 6 years when it came to wealth building than I did in the previous 4 years. So please, don't be afraid. You just need clear direction. Get the free compass. There's no cost or obligation to it. I'm not here to make money. My company had a record year last year. I'm just doing this to give back to people so they aren't in the same boat I was in. Just go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free and just test it out for yourself.
Good. And so if someone wants to track you down, can you tell them the best way to track you down?
The best place is my website, which is One Page Wealth Compass. And there's a place for if you want to make a comment or you want to send me a message, you can do that. I have a blog there that's free. I have a newsletter that's free. Everything is free. I'm not charging for anything. The only thing is there's a link to a book on Amazon if you want to get the book, which I think it goes beautifully with the compass, but you don't have to. But they're inexpensive. I'm not here to make money. I'm just here to share with people.
Okay. Well, Mr. David, I want to tell you thank you so much for joining me. Your message, your story has given me hope. It has truly been a blessing. And I look forward to having you back when you're 82.
Sounds great. I look forward to it too, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you again. And everyone, Bartelle's Money Talk. I hope that this conversation was a blessing to you. And we will see you at our next episode.